I've never actually really played Path of Exile. I tried to play Path of Exile 1 a little bit, but every time I would end the campaign, I would just end up not playing because the game was too complicated. But PoE 2, it's way easier. So much that I actually decided to make my own build where I weave every one of the elements together. Fire, lightning, and ice, well, slash water. Not gonna have earth for now at least. And I pull them all together to make the Weaver Elementalist Monk Invoker build. So let's see if this build is as good, but also doesn't permanently die like Weaver does in Guild Wars 2. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live. And let's get into it. So, what I've been trying to do in this build is becoming a Weaver from Guild Wars 2. An Elementalist that uses all of the power of their elements together. In this case, fire, lightning, and ice. This is why we actually have all of the heralds, Herald of Thunder, Herald of Ice, and Herald of Ash together. So, how's this build working right now? Well, it's doing pretty good. I do a lot of damage, and everything around me just explodes. You can see here, as soon as I kill one enemy, everything around me just, just goes hard and kills everything, which is very fun. Now, I still need to do a bit more damage. As you can see here, not everything doesn't really explode instantly. I have to do a few attacks in order for everything to die, and doing a lot of damage. But that's because sadly my staff is just not the best it can actually be. It's fine for what we need right now, but it could be way better. So as soon as we get something like this, my damage is going to be absolutely blasted. That being said, how is this working? Well, the thing is, I'm doing a lot of damage of everything. Every attack I do, I'm doing cold damage, electric damage, and physical damage. And, well, when everything explodes, I'm also doing fire damage. So all of the elements are being triggered here. I'm the god of fire, lightning, and ice, which is very nice, specifically for these things over here that trigger 30% more damage every time I do any chill, shock, or ignited. So I'm permanently just getting 90% more damage. And there's other things that I actually do to get even more elemental damage and even more stuff like this. But for now, that's essentially all you need to know. And, well, how do I do all this damage? Is, first of all, we have Essence of the Mountain that gives us extra cold damage to everything we do, and Essence of the Storm that gives us extra lightning damage for everything we do. We also are doing Ice Strike. As I have a lot of physical damage, I'm doing a lot of cold damage that way. And we have Charge Staff that transforms all of my physical damage into electric damage. And this is the buff I get on my staff to make it look like Darth Maul kind of lightsaber, which is super cool. But the thing is, for charge staff, you're gonna need power charges, and the way I got power charges is with Combat Frenzy. This will grant me frenzy charges every time you freeze, electrocute, or pin an enemy, and I'm freezing all the time. And then I have the Resonance trait that makes my frenzy charges transform themselves into power charges. So essentially, every time I'm freezing something, I get power charges. I trigger my charge staff, and I have my imbued staff all the time. This means that everything around me is getting frozen and shocked with my Ice Strike and my charge staff, which means that everything I killed something, my Herald of Ice will trigger because it will kill something that is frozen, making everything explode. And then also it will trigger Herald Thunder because it will kill something that is shocked, and therefore it will trigger this and do more damage, explode around it. And Herald of Ash will also trigger because I'm overkilling things, and it will ignite enemies around me, giving 30% more damage because of the trait that we talked about before. It's like a huge chain reaction, like an atomic bomb, taking all of the atoms one at a time to make a huge explosion of every element. Now, there's one more thing we need to talk about here, and this is something that's been covered by someone else. This build is very similar to what I have, but a bit different as it uses more abilities. I only have like 2-3 abilities maximum and a lot of auras, so it's not really the same thing, but he uses a concept of making the Herald of Thunder freeze and the Herald of Ice shock. Putting them backwards makes it so every time Herald of Ice does damage, it shocks something, therefore triggering Herald of Thunder, and then every time Herald of Thunder triggers, it will freeze something, triggering Herald of Ice, making an insane explosion, which is super cool. And the way we do this is by getting a lot of little gems that we're gonna talk about later, that essentially make it easier for Herald of Ice to shock and Herald of Thunder to freeze. Now, I did not put Cold Infusion, that makes you gain more cold damage in Herald Thunder because it does less lightning damage. And of course, Herald Thunder will do a lot of lightning damage. And honestly, with this amount of gems, because we already have doing so much lightning damage and cold damage inherently, it's not really, I don't think it's really necessary. I'm shocking and freezing everything around me regardless, so it's really not that big of a deal. We talked about before from the YouTuber actually does have that, but I want to try it this way because I feel like it has more potential. And with all these things, of course, makes so I'm doing every type of elemental damage at the same time with no issues and killing everything around me very, very easily, which is, well, why this build is so fun. Now let's talk about my other gems and my other abilities. First of all, let's talk about Charged Staff. Falling Thunder, I mean. Falling Thunder is another ability I have that makes me do a lot of damage in an AoE way. You can see it right here. I'm just gonna press it. Boom! It goes through the entire thing, killing everything around it. Those things, two guys avoided my attack, so I couldn't really go for it. Well, I'm gonna do it right now. Again, I'm just gonna kite everything around me here and press it, and everything dies except this little guy because he's a rare one. But usually you will actually kill it because you can have more stacks. I just wanted to show you with no stacks at all. But yeah, that's a very, very good ability. And whenever you are having too many power charges and you can't really use them to charge your staff, this is a very good way of doing it as well. You just press this button, kill everything around you, and keep moving around. We also have a Tempest Bell because obviously it essentially triggers with every one of your elements when you attack it, and it does more damage around it once you hit it, which is super good for individual enemies. For bosses, it's insanely powerful. So this is the typical setup, of course, but it's just very, very powerful. For defense, we have obviously Combat Frenzy that gives us the power charges, and we have some defenses as well. Ghost Dance, Wind Dancer, to get myself more evasion. Now let's go through all of the support gems. Yeah, we have Charge Staff, we have Shock Siphon, so every time I kill something with Shock, I get Energy Shield. This is very, very nice, so I can have more health, you know, I don't die. I can just recover my health very easily. Primal Armament to do more weapon elemental damage, you know, so this does just more damage. I might actually change this and put it in somewhere else, but right now I don't have any other place to put it. Perpetual Charge to make it so whenever I consume the power charges to charge my staff, sometimes it doesn't remove charges, which makes me have more charges to be able to use Falling Thunder, for example. Lightning Infusion, just to do more lightning damage, might as well put it here. It's not really doing anything else anyways. Ghost Dance with Fast Forward to make the duration shorter, because Ghost Dance essentially gives you Ghost Shrouds that if you're hit, when you have a Ghost Shroud, it will immediately consume your recover energy shield best unit evasion, and that's a lot of evasion. Of course, you want to make it shorter because 3.3 second duration between getting Ghost Shrouds. With this makes it shorter, so you can get more Ghost Shrouds faster. Tempest Bell, we have Font of Rage to get more physical damage, as you'll give me an aura of rage. Heft to make it so my physical damage from this will give me, which will give me more physical damage from this ability. Rage, so I can get even more physical damage from getting this buff. While I'm pressing this, while I'm using Tempest Bell, I'll be getting rage every time I. Everything here is to get yourself more powerful, more physically buffed, so you can do more damage to the bell, and therefore doing more damage to everyone around you too. Hit an enemy with this, and we have Font of Mana because I want mana and I run out, so that way when I place this, I will get a bit of mana regeneration. Herald of Ash just makes everything explode with fire once it dies. I just have precision here so I can get a bit more accuracy, and a persistence to make the duration longer of the ignite that it provides. I don't think it's really that big of a deal, but I just don't know what else to put in here. If you have any good ideas, you can let me know. Wind Dancer, guns buff that gives you more evasion per stage, and being hit by a melee attack will have you consume this buff, giving you less, obviously, evasion, and knock back enemies around you. The knockback is what we're trying to deal with here. Maim to maim enemies, because the knockback will maim enemies around it, making them have less evasion rating, so they are easier to attack, and have slower movement, so you can go far away, you know, if you want to escape. Frost Nexus, just because when this triggers, it will trigger patches of a chilled ground around my frozen enemies when I get hit. And Blind, to make it so I blind enemies around me once this triggers. And because obviously I'm gonna lose evasion, blinding enemies around me when I get hit is a great idea. Combat Frenzy, just profusion, so I gain more charges from this. Clarity, so I can have mana regeneration while the skill is active. This is very nice because we are very mana hungry and we have to deal with that problem. We'll talk about that later. Falling Thunder, the big attack, the big AoE attack. We have some more damage if critically hit against immobilized enemies, because most of the time they're in some ways they're frozen or something like this, especially big bosses. So this makes it even do more, have a bigger possibility of having a crit, which is super nice. Hourglass to make it so it is significantly more damage, but again a long cooldown. This is great because we're not using this too much, only when we have a good amount of power charges, so the long cooldown doesn't matter. And the same thing goes for culmination, as this means that every time I do an attack, you'll start getting combo points, and the more combo points I get, the more damage I do. And because we're not using this that much, we can get to an insane amount of combo points, making me, for example, have 50 and do 100% more damage with this ability. A very good finisher. And Rising Tempest, that it does more elemental damage dealt of it by each skill used recently of a different elemental type. So because I'm doing a lot of cold damage, guess what? This is going to be getting even more damage once it hits. We are the Chill Lords. Ice Strike, Martial Tempo to do the attack faster, Cold Infusion to do more ice damage, Soul Thief to leech mana of the physical damage that I'm doing with this, and of course I'm doing a good amount. Concentrate Effect to make the area of the attack smaller. It's a melee attack, so it doesn't really matter as much. Herald of Ice, Overcharge to make the shocks have be more effective, even though with lower duration. Concussion Current, so I can give it a chance to shock enemies around me when I shock an enemy, and this will be shocking all the time, so it's great. Conduction to make it more likely, so I shock enemies, and of course also Magnified Effect to make the effect of it larger, so we can trigger the whole explosion in a bigger way. Herald Thunder with Innervate, so I can make it so whenever it kills an shocked enemy, all of my attacks gain more lightning damage. This really could have been going here, but there's no reason not to put it there. It really doesn't matter where you put this anyways. It just has to be an attack, but, you know, might as well put it here. Lightning Mastery, just so it has more level, therefore doing more damage. Ice Bite, so it is more likely to freeze enemies. And Glaciation, so it is more likely to freeze enemies as well. With all this setup, we have a beautiful build. And we also have Elemental Expression, which is a passive that I get from my Ascendancy on this side, that essentially every time I crit, I will be doing a Fire Explosion, an Arcane Bolt, or an Icy Wave. Obviously being able to do a lot of elemental damage. So crit is very important for me. This is why we have so much crit. And this is essentially just so it triggers more. I have Wild Charge, so whenever it triggers, it gets more projectiles. We have Ambush, so it is more likely to crit on enemies on full life. Elemental Focus gets him to deal more elemental damage, but it cannot inflict elemental elements, which is fine. And we also have Ingenuity, because this has a cooldown of 0.25 seconds, and with this it'll make it lower, so therefore every time I crit, it is more likely for me to be off cooldown to be able to trigger this elemental expression. For traits, I mean, I'm just getting a lot of energy shield and evasion, because that's, you know, what most of our defenses are like right now. You have Spectre Ward, so I get 1 maximum energy shield per 12 evasion rating on my equipped armor, which is, you know, the thing I have a lot of evasion in, so this is absolutely great. We have all these things we talked about before, more elemental damage, and 30% more damage once I have ignited, chilled, or shocked an enemy recently. Some crit chance around here, which we're gonna be getting even further. Some more crit chance over there. The Quarterstaff's abilities, because they're absolutely insane. Crit, attack speed, more defenses and freeze buildup, and also one with the Storm for Quarterstaff skills that consume power charges, like Charge Staff or Falling Thunder, count as consuming an additional power charge. This means that if I consume 4, I actually consume 5, which is super nice, because we'll be doing this a lot of the time. We have a Falcon Technique to get increased attack speed per 15 dexterity. We have a lot of dexterity, so this is absolutely great. We have more evasion rating over there as well. 100 more evasion rating from equipped body armor, which helps getting even more maximum energy shield from this side. We have a lot of dexterity here too. We have more crit chance on this side, and we have Coming Calamity to get 50% increased cold damage, fire damage, and lightning damage, corresponding each of the heralds for cold for ice, fire for ash, and lightning for thunder. So this means that I have 50% more damage of every one of these elements. And I imbued my amulet with Doomsayer, which is on this side. That gives me 30% more area of effect on my herald skills and 30% more damage. So all this going very well together. not having to take a lot of a long way for anything here, and we're absolutely blasting with great amount of stuff. Right now, this build is going very well. I am a new player, so if you find any problems with this build, please let me know. I'm kind of just experimenting a lot here to trying to understand the game, and this is the way that I've been really understanding the game way better, to making my own build. It's been very fun, but I'm sure there's some optimizations I can do, and if you can tell me those, please let me know. But right now my problems are that I think I do need some sort of more defensives in terms of life, in terms of energy shield. I know that I can fix most of those with more better gear, but right now that's my problem, because yeah, I'm evading 87% of my attacks, but like also, man, it kind of sucks that sometimes sometimes I can't really do if I get hit, I just die, right? I just explode. So that's really not something I don't really like about this build, that we have to fix. So slowly, with getting better gear, getting more levels, I'm sure that we're gonna be able to do this, but for now that's the biggest problem I have. The other problem is the mana, how mana hungry it is. It's not being that much of a problem right now, but I've heard some people are actually getting lower levels of your skills. For example, I would have to get a lower level Ice Strike, and this would give me less mana per use, therefore making it way easier for me to consume this and, you know, not be mana hungry. So I will consider this. For now, it's just not what's happening, but I'll think about it. We'll see if we can put that in. And of course, having a better staff would be making me but having a better quarterstaff will make me do way more damage, as well as having more crits. I think those are the other things that we have to fix. But well, you know, right now I'm not low level. I'm level 81, but I definitely am in the kind of start-ish of the end game. So it's gonna take me a while to fix all these problems and, you know, learn enough to blast it. But, you know, I think the concept of the build really works. I just need a bit more time and grind to make it perfect. So definitely subscribe to the channel so you can check all of the evolution of this build, and let me know if there's anything I could do better. Let me know if you have any tips, if you learn anything, and you know, I'll be updating this build. I'll be making a playlist of all the changes I do to this build, and eventually, once it's done and we have it perfectly, we'll make a huge guide of it once it's, you know, perfectly done. So thank you very much for watching, guys. See you around, subscribe to the channel, and bye bye.